Welcome to the Lyrically Speaking podcast, where we dissect, dig deep, and discover the lyrics to some of the most popular songs ever written. We ask, what are they really telling us? What can we learn? Or unlearn in some cases? I'm Louise.
And I'm Omar.
And here on the Lyrically Speaking podcast, we share our thoughts on how the broader themes from these songs relate to our real everyday lives. So if you love music, if you enjoy critical thinking and reflecting on life's bigger themes while having a laugh with friends, then this is the place for you. Welcome back to another episode, everyone.
Hi.
Come on in. Come on. Put some tea on or something, or some coffee, whatever you're doing. Get ready for another episode. We're going to be talking about a very well-known song today.
We love it.
It was released in the year 2000, actually. The same year as the Tony Braxton song we did, He Wasn't Man Enough. And it was released by are they called a boy band? Would we call them a boy band? I guess they're a boy band.
Yeah, a vocal group more than a boy band.
It's interesting because boy band is used more for the pop.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't really use that for the R&B.
R&B. We don't call them boy band. No.
We would call them, maybe a vocal group.
A vocal group.
Who I think are actually quite underrated. They're really good, actually. One of my favourite albums of theirs is called Hard. So I don't know if anyone
I remember that album.
Is guessing who it is, but it's Jagged Edge.
Yeah.
Straight from, are they from Atlanta?
I think so. I really don't know. I never followed them like that, so I wouldn't know.
The song that we're covering from Jagged Edge today, as I said, they released it in the year 2000, and it was a single from their album called J.E. Heartbreak. The song has been used for many weddings.
Loads
when we break down
of
the
weddings.
lyrics today, maybe you will question that decision.
You might question it. You might want to, re-edit that video, cause
yes, you might want to put another soundtrack over it. So the song is "Let's Get Married" by Jagged Edge, and it was one of their most successful singles, and it reached the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US. So we're going to dig into the lyrics. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go for it. Let's see what problems we unearth in this one.
So it goes. See, first of all, I know these so-called players wouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to be real and say what's on my heart. So already he's comparing himself to players. He's elevating himself above the players to make it seem like what he's doing is special.
It's so special.
Not like the others.
So special. Those so-called players.
Yes, but he could be one. Do you know what I mean?
He could be
let's
one.
See. Let's take this chance and make this love feel relevant.
Relevant, What do you mean relevant? What do you mean by relevant? So is it not relevant already? Is this love not already relevant? What can make it more relevant?
I mean, what's irrelevant love? What's irrelevant? What is it when love is irrelevant?
Irrelevant. That's what I mean. I don't understand that. I'm confused. Maybe you can help me. I'm confused. He says, let's take this chance. So it's a chance. Because it might make it more relevant, but it might not. So we're gambling. Here's a gamble now.
It's a gamble.
We're trying to make it more relevant, but we don't quite know if it's going to be more relevant.
We don't even know what relevant is.
We don't even know what it is.
Define that.
Very interesting. Already,
okay.
I'm baffled.
Okay. Didn't you know I loved you from the start? Yeah. Well, no, I wouldn't know. You'd have to tell me, wouldn't you?
100%.
I wouldn't know.
Anyway, let's keep going because I've got so many questions right now.
When you think about all the years we put in this relationship, who knew we'd make it this far? Then I think about, where would I be if we were to just fall apart? I can't stand the thought of losing you.
Now, vocally underrated, but lyrically, I mean, what were they teaching us about love? I mean, come on. And we thought, I mean, this song was romantic. But he's already told her this love ain't really yet relevant. So, he told her this ain't yet relevant. I loved you from the start, but it ain't yet relevant to me.
Yeah.
He's already telling her what time it is. So we've got to take this next step now to make this thing mean something to me. I mean, boy, I don't know.
And he goes into the next step. He says, "Meet me at the altar in your white dress." So it's a command.
It's a command.
It's come out of nowhere at this point, because before he was just saying, "I can't stand being without you." Then next it's, "Meet me at the altar in your white dress." Where's the proposal? Let's
do it.
Will you marry me? I mean, this song should probably be called "Will You Marry Me?"
100%.
Not let's get married.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, where was the question first? You should ask. But okay, we're giving the benefit.
Let's leave it. We'll leave it there.
We ain't getting no younger. You might as well do it.
This is where the relevance. You see that? He's told us now. He's told us. He's getting old. The love, he's getting too old to be just having a girlfriend. He's got to make it relevant by saying he did something decent and made someone a wife. He's got to make it relevant. It's not about her. It's about the fact that it's his time of life. We ain't getting no younger, so we might as well. Let's do it.
Might as well.
Might as well
do it. Been feeling you all the while, girl. I must confess. Girl, let's just get married. I just want to get married.
He just wants to get married. He just wants to get married. He's telling us already what time it is.
It seems like it's just come out of the blue. It's
Random.
like he just woke up one day and said, I just want to get married. We've been together for a while now, and you know I've liked you. You know I like you. I've liked you from the start, right? Let's just do it. I don't know about this.
I'm not sure. This doesn't sound romantic. Jagged Edge, you lied. You lied to us. You tricked us. You put that lovely vocal arrangement on this. You slapped that beautiful melody. You put them strings on it, and you deceived us. We were fooled.
We were deceived. We all thought that this was romantic.
Boy.
Then he commands again. Meet me at the altar in your white dress. We ain't getting no younger. So we might as well do it. Been feeling you all the while, girl. I must confess. Let's get married.
Wow.
So, a lot has been revealed.
Has been revealed.
Now, apparently this song was inspired by Jermaine Dupri. He said he was dating someone. I think he's the producer of the song.
Yes, most likely. I remember he did the remix. He did the remix, so probably, yeah.
He was involved with Jagged Edge. I think he was their producer or their manager or something. And he said he got a call from a girl he was dating, or a woman he was dating, and she said to him, you know, you're getting older, the studio isn't going to keep you warm at night, you need to settle down.
Wow.
Anytime you've got to do that to convince someone to settle down, it's not a
bad
sign. Because you
sign.
don't want to run to the altar out of fear.
100%.
Right? You don't want that to be the motivator.
Exactly.
So I've got a question for you, Omar. How would you respond if a guy said, you know what, let's just get married today. Meet me at the altar in your white dress in half an hour. You know, we're not getting any younger, we might as well. And you know I've liked you for ages, right?
Girl, it would be a straight no from me. That for me would be a no. It's so problematic. I think there has to be more about me, and not in an egotistical way, but this is more a sense of I have to be confident that you have assessed me enough to know that you want to get married because you see a true partnership between us. You see that this is going to be a true partnership that is going to be forever. Not that you just think you're getting old and now just seems to be the time, or your friends have started all getting married, so you just think, oh well, we might as well jump on the train. To marry someone, you know, I believe marriage is for life. To marry someone and to go into that level of lifelong partnership, it's not something you do on a whim, and it's not something you do based on a feeling. You've got to have truly assessed that the goods, the bads, the whatever of this person, this all is something that works for me, and I am willing to do my part to push this person to be the best they can be, or to serve this person in the best way I can. And when someone comes to you saying, well, I've liked you all a while, and it doesn't give me that sense. That gives me the sense that right now you're feeling somewhat emotional and lovey-dovey. You're in a happy place in the relationship, but then I start to think, we may be having a bad patch. What will you do then? Will you still feel like being married? And for me, I feel like that's the problem. It's too emotional. That whole proposal, if you want to call it that, it's just too emotional. It doesn't seem thought out. It doesn't seem someone that's going to be able to weather the storms. It just seems like, I feel like doing this today. Let's just do it. But you might not feel like it in a few weeks. Or once the excitement of the engagement and the ring and everything wears off, you might not feel like it anymore. So I don't have confidence based on what Homeboy's saying there.
I actually get a vibe of might as well.
I
don't get much emotion at all. I get more, okay.
No, but the emotion
is a bit of nonchalance.
Yeah, the emotion is, well, everyone else is doing it and I don't want to be left behind. The emotion is more one of competition. Like, I don't want to be left behind, or everyone else seems to be doing this. It seems to be the next stage. In fact, you're right. It's very nonchalant. It's like, it's just the next stage. It's like the next tick box. Like, it's the next tick box thing to do. It's just what you it's just what you do. But I think the problem is that when you're getting married, you're connecting your life to a whole other human life. And I don't think that should be taken nonchalantly. It should not be taken nonchalantly. That should be taken with a high level of sobriety and, I dare say, reverence. It should be taken very, very seriously. So, yeah, that would not work for me. Then we might as well, come on, let's just go and do it.
Absolutely, that would not work. And I know that was not the attitude of your now husband.
No, definitely was not.
That was not his attitude at all.
Definitely not.
I think definitely from this song, we see that they have been dating for a while. He's let us know that. And the relationship now is at the point where they've been dating so long, they're a lot older, and it's kind of like, okay, let's just do it. And studies actually show that puts a relationship at high risk.
Yes.
There's two types of relationship at the highest risk.
Yeah.
One is the whirlwind romance.
Yes.
Where you dated for 6 months and you just fell passionately in love and you went for it. And that's what we see in Hollywood, right? That is apparently the relationship that is most likely to end in divorce.
Yes.
Then the second type is the one where they've dated for a long period of time. And then now they're just feeling pressured to get married because, is it called the sunken cost fallacy? Where basically they've put so much time into it to now try and start again in another relationship just seems very daunting and scary. And now they want to get some sort of value out of all the investment they've put into the relationship. And then another dimension that can happen is they just start getting to an age where they're like, okay, we're old now, we've got to just do it. So those are the two types of relationships that have the highest risk of divorce.
Adding to that, teenage relationships, they say as well. Just add to that, they say people who rush into marriage in their teens. So they say teens,
I can see that.
Teens is a no, but then also they say being older is a no, actually, as well. So I know you're going on a different angle, but those are the two extremes that they say generally make it challenging.
And that makes sense because as a teen, I mean, gosh, if I get married as a teenager, it would be a mess. Like,
it would be a mess.
I am very different to how I was when I was a teenager. I didn't even understand life, to be honest. So that would have been a disaster. But then I guess what's the older angle that you mentioned? That's
the angle with being older is because, and it's one of these weird paradox things, right? And they talk about it like the marriage readiness paradoxes. A lot of the studies talk about it. But we think that because you're older, you're smarter, you're wiser, you're going to know what you want. But the challenge is you've been independent for too long. And when you get married, you're supposed to be two are becoming one. So you become one, that you work together, and it's much harder to work together with another person when you've been independent for much, much longer. So they're actually saying that people who wait much longer have less chances. And when they look at the happiness of marriages, people in their 20s who got married in their 20s are actually saying they're much more fulfilled and happy than people who are older. So it's really, it's really
older?
Interesting.
So
people who are, they say like mid-30s and upwards. Yeah, they say 20s, yeah, but 20 seems to be what they say is the sweet spot. Yeah, 20 somethings is the sweet spot, whereas as you start getting older, I mean, I'm sure early 30s, you know, is probably still okay, because right now it takes longer to get established in certain things, but once you start going into mid-30s, 40s, you've been independent for too long. And the other thing is, a lot of people are now cohabiting before they get married. And it was something that, you know, before people might say, well, you've got to, you know, people are shocked. I mean, I did not live with my husband before I was married to him. We didn't live together. And people are very shocked by that, because nowadays people cohabit. It's like, see how you can work it out with one another. But studies show cohabitation actually does not lead to more successful marriages. It's actually leading to more divorces. So there's some really, really interesting paradoxes.
I'd love to learn a bit. Why is that?
Because I'm trying to look at what they're saying here. I'm literally going to read it. So what they seem to say here is that the belief was that cohabitation would act as a sort of Darwinian survival of the fittest that would weed out the weak relationships, and that only the strong ones would survive into marriage, and that the divorce rates would decline. But it's not been shown. Just over 30 years. They've not really said why, actually, but they've said over 30 years, it's not actually been shown to be true. And they're now seeing that actually there's more of an association with odds of divorce. And no study to date has ever shown that cohabitation is a protective factor for divorces. So people are actually divorcing more at the same rate by cohabiting than it actually, you know, preventing people, because they know, you think you've lived together, you know each other longer, so your marriage should work out. But it's not showing that. It's not showing that.
I think the most important thing is to just get to know each other. I don't think you have to live together to get to know each other well. And adding to what you've shared, apparently the sweet spot in terms of how long you date is 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Because I thought, you know, maybe this couple that we're reading about in the song Let's Get Married, they've been dating a long time, they're getting old, maybe actually that will work in their favor. But actually, when you now start to date for more than 4 years, it increases your risk of divorce. And I was really surprised by that. And it sounds like also
a similar thing
can increase your risk of divorce.
I think it leads to more dissatisfaction. It's like what he's saying. We're not getting any younger. We might as well do it. People feel like getting married, and people do this in marriages with babies as well. People feel like getting married or having a child is going to bring a fresh lease of life to the relationship. A lot of the times you're trying to bring a fresh lease of life to something that is probably already on last legs. So you add marriage to it. There's a lot of expectations that come with that. Oh, it's going to be great. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be all singing, all dancing. And then it's the same. And I think that leads to dissatisfaction. Similarly to, you know, people talk about wedding day blues or day after the wedding blues, where there's all this hype around getting married. You have all this hype and everything. And a lot of people talk about how after all the planning and everything, the next day they feel really low. Because they're like, oh, it's all done now. The wedding day's over. Is this all there is? And I think that's a similar thing. It's just misplaced expectations, I think, is what happens when you're together for a really long time and you think, let's just add in marriage to freshen it up. Or if you live together and you're already living as husband and wife, but you think, oh, marriage will just give it the edge, you know?
There'll obviously be people saying, well, I cohabited and it worked out well. You know, we've been married for however long. But I wonder if the reason that cohabitors break up faster rates or larger rates than married people is because ultimately with marriage, you are committing. You're basically taking an oath to say you're going to never leave this person. You're going to ride through the waves of life, and you're going to go through thick and thin together, and you're not going to leave. You're going to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whereas there is no such commitment when you enter a cohabitation situation. All you would need to do is cancel the lease and go your separate ways. So it's easy. And maybe I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because let's not act like people don't today take a similar attitude to marriage.
Yes. I feel like celebrities treat their marriages like they're dating, don't they? We got together, we broke up, we remarry. Maybe it's because they've got the money to do it. You know, maybe it's because for them putting the thousands into the wedding doesn't mean anything. But yeah, you know, that there's a mindset on marriage that I think leads to people breaking up, getting back together, you know, or, you know, divorcing so readily, and, you know, marriage is not lasting.
Do you think there should be a marriage tax for multiple offenders, for people who keep getting married, keep getting divorced? They have to pay.
Boy,
it would tax.
I mean, but then they'd have to pay a tax to what end? Because, you know, if we were to tax them, what are we saying is the harm that they're doing by doing that? Because they're only hurting themselves at the end of the day. What harm are they causing?
They're hurting the concept, the image, the brand, shall we say, of marriage.
But do people care about the concept of marriage anymore? See, that's also the challenge. Like, does anybody? I mean, I do. I know you do. But overall, you know, yes, they're hurting the brand of marriage. I think actually the tax for me would be based on the fact that a lot of times we're ending up with broken families, and actually divorce does have an impact on children. It does. And those children, 100%. So that becomes an impact of children at large. So in that regard, I could say, yes, people should be taxed if you are going to have children now that oftentimes are becoming, you know, needing support, extra support from the state because of various emotional challenges and things like that. So yeah, you might say that, but it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because people also damage themselves when they divorce. They damage themselves as well. Or not damage themselves, but they go through their own challenges because of it.
Yes, but every time J-Lo and the likes of J-Lo get a divorce, someone, not just someone, many people somewhere are saying, oh, I can't get married. I can't believe in love anymore. I've lost my hope and faith that marriage will work. And then they go on to have that attitude and that mindset and perspective if they do get married, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. Because they're already going into marriage thinking, well, J-Lo has got divorced. All these people have got divorced multiple times. Will this work? I'll probably get a divorce too. And it is hurting the idea, the concept, the brand of marriage. It is hurting. And yes, marriage is not a company that is making profit. It's not a product. So we can't fine people in the same way as if someone's actually damaging the brand of Apple or Microsoft or whatever. But I think there needs to be some sort of consequence. I don't think people can just keep getting married, then divorcing, getting married, then divorcing, because it's actually more something to do with them, and then impacting, as you said, not only their children and society, but then how people perceive their own marriages and other people's marriages.
Yes. But, you know, people have to take some responsibility here. People have to... Look, you can't say that because J-Lo or whomever did it, that they're now ruining your own sense of marriage. I think everybody going into anything should have a very strong understanding about what that thing is supposed to be, how that thing's supposed to work. You don't just pick up any tool or pick up a machine or whatever and just start using it willy-nilly. You check the manual, you check to make sure you know what it's all about. And so I think people have to take some responsibility. So I do hear you, but again, I struggle with the thing of taxing people because they're bringing down the institution. I think if you hold marriage in esteem, then you should do right by your own marriage. Do you know what I mean? Regardless of whatever else is going on. So I hear that, but I think that would be a bit challenging, to be honest. I think it would be tough to stand by that concept. But I think for the sake of the children, maybe there could be something, because that's where I think when you're making a choice to bring a child into this world, they don't have a choice in the matter. You as a grown-up have a choice and can make a conscious decision, but children don't have a choice. So if you want to be running around, which I think it is irresponsible, starting relationships, having babies, breaking them up, getting married again, but then again, then we might say, well, we should tax people that just go around making babies and don't get married. Should we tax Nick Cannon? You know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, maybe we should. So then for me, it boils down to the children. It's the element of not creating a stable environment for children. I mean, I don't know what all the children's rights are, but I think children do have a right to good education and a stable environment. Outside of children being involved, you decided to put yourself in a marriage and then you decided to leave it and then put yourself in another one. I mean, I think it's just yourself.
Children do suffer the most. They
do. They do.
So do you, looking at the song lyrics again, for me, I am seeing someone who is looking to get married for self-interested, slightly narcissistic reasons. Do you think that's the reason most people decide to get married? Is it more about themselves than the other person? Because ideally it should be, I want to marry you so I can bless you, so I can love you and give to you and serve you. But do you think actually it's more so to the contrary, where people are thinking, I want this from you, I want to have this feeling, or I want to keep up with the Joneses. There's something I want you to give me, and that's why I want to marry you.
I think yes. I think nowadays, very few people without, and I think this is the challenge. I really was saying this to my husband the other day. I think there has to be a lot more education for young people generally, just about relationships, not just marriage, but I think relationships generally. What makes for healthy, functional relationships, friendships, if you want to go into a romantic relationship, like there needs to be more education about what makes these things healthy and functional. I think the challenge is now,
to be honest, it should really be part of the school curriculum.
It should 100%. They teach you about sexual education, but the damage a lot of the times, that there is physical damage, yes, but it's the emotional damage. No one teaches you about the emotional impact of connecting yourself with another human being. Like, you just don't learn about those things, what it takes to sustain relationships, the mindset that you should have in order for a relationship to work, how you have to be putting someone else before yourself, all of these things which help to create even a stable family environment. You need to put your children's welfare sometimes above your own. These are all the types of things that we're not really teaching people. We do have a very self-centered society. So now people are getting into wanting to be married for themselves. Oh gosh, I'm 35. All my friends have married and I'm the only one. I remember, speaking to people back in the day, it would be like, God forbid I get to 30 and I'm still single. And I do get that there's societal pressures and I get all those types of things, but ultimately that is a very if we really break it down, that's a very self-centered viewpoint to have. God forbid I am not, like, why not you? Why would it be someone else and not you? So I think that a lot of people nowadays do unfortunately get into marriages not with the mindset of service, not with the mindset of I'm giving myself to another human, but with the mindset of this is going to benefit me. I need to increase my status. We've had talked about this in our Tony Braxton episode about this status symbol now of being married and having the ring, and all of this type of stuff. So I think that a lot of people are getting into marriages, for those selfish reasons. And when you get into marriage, it's not just about you. And it makes it challenging. And this is what is making it challenging. You have to lay down some of your own desires. You've got to be able to compromise. But then you'll find that those same people who can't make that work in a marriage are probably like that with their friendships too. Their friendships are all about status and who looks good with them and who's going to take them places, as opposed to just wanting to build up, support, serve another person. I think that's just the way society has gone nowadays.
Absolutely. Very true. I think a lot of the songs that we sang in the 90s and the 2000s, they do normalize getting married to someone or desiring someone or, pursuing them because of how they make you feel. And again, if we actually break that down and stand back and think about it, it's self-centered. It's again about the feeling you're pursuing through that person. So again, it's about self. It's about what you're going to get out of it. It's about what you need, not about what the other person needs. And I think before we even think about marrying someone, or taking that step or looking for someone, it's important we sit with that question of, well, what do I want to give them? What would I want to give a husband or a wife, as opposed to what am I trying to get out of it? What do I want them to make me feel? What do I want to take from them? What are they going to fill in me that is missing? I think going in with that attitude, to your point, is just setting us up for failure, to be honest. But conversely, going in with that mindset of what do I want to give? What do I want to add? How do I want to serve? Is going to help set us up for success.
But yeah, I mean, Jagged Edge, you really threw us for a loop. We were singing these tunes. We really thought that this was all romance here, but we've come to find that there's just some problems. A lot of the 90s songs, I mean, it's no wonder we're not doing too well on the relationships in the stats, because this is what was teaching us growing up, So yeah, key takeaways, Lou, from this one.
So I say, before getting married, look at some of those studies. Actually, they're quite helpful. Do a bit of research. What are the things that predict a successful marriage? John Gottman, absolutely love him. He's done amazing work on the things that predict marriage, because he's approached it from a scientific perspective, and he has done longitudinal studies on marriage. So he has a list of things that predict marriage and a list of things that will cause it to fail. And if we're going to take an emotional view of marriage, why not take a scientific view as well?
Exactly.
Why not look at the data in the stats?
And if you're getting older, you might as well. Look at the stats, because you need the highest chance that this thing is actually going to go the distance.
Yes. I mean, there's always exceptions, but ultimately, if the data is showing that getting married after a whirlwind romance won't work to advantage, but likewise, dating for too long and not making a commitment won't help, maybe rethink the cohabitation thing, because data is showing that won't help, and be armed with as much resources as possible so that you can set yourself up for success. There is so much out there now for people to access. And then lastly, my key takeaway is, before we get married, instead of asking, what can you do for me and what can I get from you, ask, what do I want to give and what can I give? Yeah.
No, definitely. I feel you summed up everything. I would tell that lady that is getting this proposal to just say no. That's what I would say. I'd say, we've talked about the stats now. We've looked at the scientific evidence. Honey, this one don't seem like it's going to work out well for you, so keep it moving. Good. That would be my takeaway. If I ever met that young lady, I would say, don't just get married. It's all right. Keep it moving. He doesn't seem like he's all in it. He's not, doesn't seem like he's fully committed to making this work, so keep it moving. That would be the takeaway from me.
100%.
All right, then. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Catch you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Lyrically Speaking podcast. We're so grateful for all of you, our listeners. We don't want this episode to be the end of us connecting, so tell us what your key takeaways were. They're probably different to ours, so we'd love to hear them. You can tweet us with your takeaways or leave them as a comment on our social media post or our YouTube video for this episode. We are at Lyrically Speaking Podcast across all platforms, including Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, except X, where you can find us as at Lyrically Pod. You can find Louise on Twitter and Instagram as at Carlo Coaching, that's Carlo with a K, and me, Omar, as at Omar.fam.